It's time for Living with Victory, a program of hope and encouragement brought to you by Friends of Compassion and listeners like you. Now, here are your hosts, Tony and Laureen Giorgio, with today's message of perseverance.
Jesus is with me when the storm clouds gather, when the winds of this world are blowing strong.
Welcome to Living with Victory, proving life isn't about waiting for the storms to pass. It's about learning to dance in that rain, giving you peace, power, and joy through perseverance and faith above all in Jesus Christ. Hey, a quick reminder before we get started. You can contact us if you like with your comments or prayer requests or anything else through our website, livingwithvictory.org, or you can call us at 828-926-4600. At the end of the program, our announcer, Tim Hodges, will have additional contact information. I want to introduce, and I will, my wonderful sidekick of the last 45 years, almost 46, my wife, Laureen, who will have the word of the day, and we can continue on the topic we started last week. This is part 2. And hey, Laureen, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastically because I love to talk about the discipline of spiritual perseverance.
Amen. And I almost got in trouble there. Said she liked to talk, and I threw in it.
I think we both have that
guys.
in common. Anyway, Psalm 51:10. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right, persevering, and steadfast spirit within me. My utmost for his highest, by Oswald Chambers, says, a call to spiritual perseverance is not to hang on and do nothing, but to work deliberately, knowing with certainty that God will never be defeated. If our hopes seem to be experiencing disappointment right now, it simply means that they are being purified. Every hope or dream of the human mind will be fulfilled if it is noble and of God. But one of the greatest stresses in life is the stress of waiting for God. He brings fulfillment because you have kept my command to persevere. That is Revelation 3:10. Now, Tony today has another story to explain how this spiritual perseverance helps and how it spreads when somebody really hangs in there.
Like peanut butter, right? Well, I tell you, though, that Oswald Chambers book, that goes back to the 1800s. Just think of it. When they say persevering, it doesn't mean that you're hanging on by your fingertips because you're going to fall off the cliff. The fear of falling is not there. You're persevering because you're waiting in patience and through Christ who leads you, because you know God has the answer, okay? Now, last week we talked about, I think we called her Carol, with her young 16-year-old child in the wheelchair, Annie, who couldn't talk and needed a wheelchair because she grew out of the other one. And she found us, and we got everything together for her, and she persevered for like 2 years, almost 3 years, to try to get this done. Through this, we met other families that we would have never, ever known about, who were suffering outside of the guidelines that we had, who were also really practicing the patience and the endurance and the perseverance trying to get their children help. This is how God works in mysterious ways. We're sitting there, we haven't a clue what's going on. Then Carol goes after this task, and what happens? She finds us. But now it opens the door to a friend of hers, Mary, who has a young boy whose name is Tommy. We'll call him Tommy, who has cerebral palsy. He's in a chair, and she's trying to get everything she needs for him. And she's practicing her perseverance and her faith in God, especially when you find out that Tommy's mommy is actually his grandmother. The mother couldn't handle the situation when Tommy was born and left him on Grandma's doorstep almost. Said, here, you take care of him, I just can't. Shortly after that, Grandpa dies.
Tommy, you could handle children that have this type of ailment when they're young, but when they start to grow, it becomes very difficult because they're getting taller, they're getting heavier, and they can't be lifted as easily as they were before.
Oh, yeah.
She was having a problem trying to even get him into a regular bathroom. They were living in a double-wide trailer. Do you remember?
Yeah. Yes, I remember that.
Nothing was set up, really, for a wheelchair. They had no ramps. She was lifting this boy constantly.
Oh, that poor woman.
Even though it was out of our scope, I mean, our foundation, God just started for us to be there to just help whoever needed help, period. Do you remember how we got together and they revamped her whole trailer?
Well, I'll tell you what, we were kind of crazy, and a reporter one time who did a story on us said, he's the type of guy, he doesn't know this, that, or the other thing. He just grabs a couple of loaves of bread under each arm and goes out and starts giving it out. That's me. I haven't a clue what's going on. That's the idea. Go do. What we did, we realized the problem that Mary was having with Tommy, and we contacted people in the area like Home Depot and all that. And we had a great radio station in Orlando that we used to work with. And let me tell you something. Between Home Depot and that radio station, I think it was K92 in Orlando, God bless them, they got together and they revamped that trailer. Nowadays you see the home makeovers and all of that. Well, before it was popular, I guess you might say, we were doing this kind of crazy stuff. And they redid his whole room and area to a big, huge bathroom that would fit a lift. It would fit his wheelchair, the bedding, the deck, the ramps. Complete makeover, let me tell you. And this was because Carol was persevering all those years until she got to us.
Do you see the domino effect here?
Mary wouldn't have known us. God's leading gives you so much more. You have no idea what's there, and we help so many other people. And you talk about the perseverance in the spirit of Tommy's mom, okay? She taught this boy to use what he had to communicate. He couldn't talk. She taught him how to say no with his eyes closing and how many times. And she taught him he can only lift his arms a certain length. She taught him to say yes by lifting his arms and closing his hands into a fist. She knew. And she taught the boy how to count money. I mean, she was unbelievable in her quest to take on this child's life and bring it to something that he could actually function and enjoy. And I remember when we were there, I had brought my nephew Albert, and they played together, him in his wheelchair, and he had an electric wheelchair, and he learned how to steer that thing. And let me tell you, boy, he was really good at it, wasn't he?
Well, he had an older brother who really souped that up. I mean, he had bells and whistles on that. I mean, that was his little hot rod. And after we had the ramps put in, it gave him a little more independence to be able to go in and out. Right now, if you're in a situation that just seems so hopeless, you've been practicing the spiritual perseverance, don't give up, because your answer could be coming right around the corner. Imagine if Carol gave up. She never would have gotten the answers to her prayers that helped her daughter. And Mary never would have met us. We wouldn't have been able to help her with her son Tommy. So it's a domino effect. And God could see why he is allowing certain things and why he's waiting, because everything has to get into place. He wants to give you his best blessing. Not the fair, not the good, but the best, the very best that he can.
God leading us not only made us help other families in need in different categories, but he also made our visibility grow. I mean, all of a sudden, we just burst out of the box like a jack-in-a-box, and there we were, and everybody recognized you, and the support kept pouring in, and we didn't know where it was coming from. And we were sitting there. I mean, we never had a big office. We worked out of our garage. This person coming to us with the help of God and God's Spirit moving it, did amazing things for us, for the families, for the community.
Every family that ever came to us, we always brought them before the Lord. We always prayed, and we prayed every step of the way until God was leading us to be able to fill their need with God's help. And we give him the glory for this, because it wasn't us. God led us step by step by step. So God's hand was on every situation that was sent our way.
Out of that, we ended up with our first radio ministry in Orlando. And what we did was interviewed the families and brought their plights to the public. And it opened up so much for these families to get the help. If Carol hadn't have just kept going, her friends would have never gotten help, and other people in those situations. What would have happened if she didn't come to us? 5,000 families in the Central Florida area would have never gotten help. And next week, we are going to talk about that. I think this deserves a part 3 in Perseverance, because we had the ultimate adventure for 2.5 years, almost 3 years, and we helped 5,000 people. So remember, spiritual perseverance. Don't let go.
Okay, I just want to read Revelation again, 3:10. Because you have guarded and kept my word of patient endurance, have held fast the lesson of my patience with the expectant endurance that I give you, I also will keep you safe from the hour of trial, testing, which is coming on the whole world to try those who dwell upon the earth. So when you feel you're going through too much, just take a deep sigh and say, Lord, I just thank you for it, because I know my answer. You have it, and you're not going to withhold it from me. I will get it in due time. Now, if you would like, we do have CDs available for you if you go to our website, livingwithvictory.org. If you would like to send for a program or even share it with someone that you think would like to hear it, our programs for January, February, and March, as well as my test of faith about my breast cancer, are on those CDs. You just click on the offer button. They are available for a donation of $3 each or 2 for $5. And if you want prayer, you can click the contact button and write to us.
Next week, we will continue this, part 3. And we'll let you know that adventure, 2.5 years, almost 3 years, and how it became help for 5,000 families. This is Tony.
And Laureen.
You keep dancing in the rain. Hey, and tell your friends, remember, Jesus is your umbrella.
You've been listening to Living with Victory with your hosts Tony and Laureen Giorgio, who for 30 years have advocated for seriously ill children through Compassion Children's Foundation. Many families who have children that receive daily treatments for their illnesses are extremely challenged to even begin to get their kids the life-saving treatments they need due to current gas prices. Compassion Children's Foundation is there to lend a hand. That is our mission, and you can become a partner in helping. Support for this radio ministry comes from Friends of Compassion and listeners like you. Your tax-deductible donations can be sent to Compassion Children's Foundation, P.O. Box 1982, Maggie Valley, North Carolina, 28751. You can also donate through your PayPal account by logging on to livingwithvictory.org. Tony is available to speak to your group or church members. You can call him at 828-926-4600. Join us again next week at this time for another uplifting story of dancing in the rain. Thanks for listening.